Greetings, Tamarack members. This is Brian Schneider. The renovation project to your golf course is now in full swing. We are just over 2 months into it, and we're moving at a brisk pace. The weather has decided to cooperate beautifully, so not only is the work being well done, it's being done quickly and efficiently. The entire team on site is working beautifully together, and things are progressing very well. I expect by Thanksgiving, the majority of the bunkers will be shaped. A number of the tees will have been rebuilt. Many of the features have been grassed at this point. There'll be a strong push to continue grassing and draining all of those bunkers by the end of the month. The 16th green is complete and growing in beautifully, as are some adjustments to the contouring of the greens on the 3rd and 4th holes. At this point, the first hole is nearly complete. Relatively minor changes on the first hole, limited to reshaping of the bunkers, particularly the fairway bunkers, which are now steeper and deeper. Higher faces, they will be more penal. So, as will be the case with the fairway bunkers throughout the golf course, they will certainly be hazards to be avoided going forward. No longer will you have the likelihood of a long iron or fairway wood recovery shot out of the fairway bunkers. They will now be a sincere penalty and must be respected going forward. And the first is a wonderful introduction to those new changes. While the changes to the first have been relatively subtle, the changes to the second hole are significant, beginning at the tees. The entire tee complex has been rebuilt. What were once elevated perched landforms have now been reshaped into a natural-looking broad hill. The tees themselves are laid gently upon that hill, no longer stick out in the landscape. We've squeezed a few more yards out of the back tee and repositioned the other tees, adding a new forward tee near the start of the fairway. The fairway itself has been joined with the first fairway. It's a massive, broad, expansive short grass wrapping around a set of new mounds that we've built between the first and second holes that will come into play on the tee shots on both holes. The biggest change on the second hole is the reintroduction of 2 cross bunkers near the start of the fairway, cutting off roughly 2/3 of the fairway itself. Those new bunkers will force a decision off the tee. Brave golfers will have the opportunity to try and carry those bunkers. Others may choose the more prudent option of laying short of those bunkers, leaving a longer approach shot, albeit from a favorable angle into the green. There's also the option to try and squeeze it between the bunkers and some new mounding on the left side if you want to get a little extra distance out of your drive. If you choose that option, you will not be able to run your ball onto the green. So you've got a number of options off that tee. Those new bunkers are spectacular looking and are certainly going to force you to rethink the way you've played that hole for years. One of the more significant changes on the golf course, and I think has turned the second hole into one that people are really going to remember and enjoy. At this point, the greenside bunkers on the 3rd hole have been rebuilt, and we've made a tweak to the central ridge in the putting surface itself. We've enhanced that ridge a bit, adding a bit of material to beef that up so that if you find yourself on the wrong side of the green, negotiating that contour in the middle of the green will be a little more substantial. In the coming week or two, we will be rebuilding the tees, adding a little bit of length there. We'll also be rebuilding the trio of bunkers that guards the entrance to the green. Those bunkers will be reshaped, pulled towards the tees a little bit to create a little more space for players to carry those bunkers and run their ball onto the green. But all in all, not much change to the 3rd. It's a wonderful par 3 and didn't need much help from us. On the contrary, the 4th hole, the long 4th, the bottle hole, is going to see a significant change. It's named Bottle after the great 12th hole at Sunningdale in England. That template is probably best exemplified by the great 8th hole at the National Golf Links on Long Island. The bottle hole is typically marked by a split fairway. Right and left sides of the fairway are divided by a series of ridges, berms, bunkers that kind of run diagonally through the center of the fairway, forcing the player to choose right or left off the tee, particularly if you want to hit a long drive on this long par 4. You're going to have to make a choice how to negotiate that bunker mound complex. So work has begun on that. We expect that to be roughed in by Thanksgiving. Should transform one of the harder holes on the golf course into also one of the best and most interesting holes you've got. Changes to the par 5 fifth hole are confined to reshaping of the bunkers. The pair of bunkers that needs to be carried between the first and second shots has been deepened and steepened. They are now a much more imposing hazard than the previous version, as are the 2 bunkers that guard the approach to the green. The bunker short and right of the green is considerably deeper than its former self, and the bunker on the left has been entirely reshaped, now eating into the fairway in a way that will force the player to really think about what they want to do with their second shot. The layup has become more complicated, and those trying to reach the green in 2 shots will face a much more significant penalty if they dare to try something of which they are not capable. Really a great hole, further enhanced by some significant deepening and steepening of the fairway bunkers. That's also the case on the 6th hole. Previously, a fairway bunker on the left side had been removed. The remaining bunkers have been deepened and steepened. The big change on the 6th hole is going to be the removal of the 2 greenside bunkers, which are not original. Instead, we will be restoring a berm that ran from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock across the front of the green, which will really emphasize the punch bowl nature of that green site and introduce a new and interesting hazard that will come into play on approach shots into that green. The 7th hole has seen relatively little change. The bunkers have been rebuilt. The tees will eventually be shifted to the right. We're going to be adding significant length to the back tee. The forward tee will probably slide forward just a touch. And for me, the big change on the 7th hole will be the significant expansion of the fairway short of the green, combined with the relocation of the tees. It's going to tweak the angle of approach into that green, really allowing for a proper right to left shot to sneak its way to back hole locations, as is the case with most great Redan holes on which your 7th hole is based. The 8th hole is another one that's seen relatively minor changes. Again, all of the bunkers have been rebuilt. They are all more imposing than the previous versions, but the placement hasn't changed significantly. They are slightly bigger, slightly deeper, but all in all, not much change has happened on the 8th hole. Same with the 9th. The existing fairway bunkers have been rebuilt. We'll be introducing some native area in front of the tee to help dissuade players on the 8th tee from considering a shortcut down the 9th fairway. We'll be adding native areas of that type throughout the golf course, and this one will be the most significant strategically. The big change on the 9th hole has been the restoration of the massive horseshoe bunker that wraps around the left and back of the green. The portion of that bunker that guarded the back of the green had previously been eliminated, replaced with rough grass. We have stripped that rough, reinstated the entire breadth of that bunker, which is a pretty imposing sight. It looks really cool from the clubhouse area and looking back up towards that green from the lower part of the golf course, and also ensures that missing long on the 9th hole is a really bad miss. Work on the 10th hole is nearly complete. Some significant changes there. The set of bunkers that had previously run down the right side of the hole had been removed several months ago. We'll be replacing them with one large and deep bunker a bit further down range. For those who want to get an ideal angle into the green, they'll have to contend with one of the more serious fairway bunkers in the golf course. A set of mounds has been added down the left side of the hole, along with the reintroduction of an original bunker that had been eliminated years ago. So the left side of the 10th hole is going to be heavily guarded for those who try to shortcut the dogleg, and the right side, again, will be guarded by a new fairway bunker. Greenside bunkers will be relatively unchanged on what's one of the more interesting green sites on the property. Not much is changing on the great par 4 punch bowl 11th hole. We'll be making some little tweaks to the fairway bunkering and some minor expansions of the short grass inside the bowl around the green. The goal is to raise the line of the short grass so that more balls can be played off of those banks and released back down to perimeter hole locations. But all in all, a great hole that doesn't need a whole lot of work. The mighty Biarritz 12th, massive hole, massive scale, and the bunkers, the greenside bunkers, are going to be expanded towards their original sizes to re-emphasize just the massive scale of that hole. The bunkers on the left of the green are going to get a bit bigger, and the pair of bunkers to the right of the green is going to be restored into the original single massive bunker that guarded the right side. The cart path is going to be replaced with softer material and will in fact run directly through that bunker. You'll be driving through the sand on the right side of the Biarritz 12th. The trio of bunkers that guards the approach there will also be rebuilt. The forward tee is going to be expanded and shifted in location. All in all, a wonderful hole is going to get even a little more dramatic and a little more interesting. As is the case with the Great 13th, the double plateau. Fairway bunkers are going to be rebuilt there with the reintroduction of a central fairway bunker that was eliminated years ago. We're also going to be adding a forward tee on that hole, as is the case with many of the holes. Not long ago, a large cross bunker that used to run across the approach from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock was eliminated. In this batch of work, we are going to be introducing a principal's nose hazard, which is essentially a mound with 3 little bunkers cut into it that will sit about 40 yards short of the front edge of the green, smack dab in the middle of the fairway. The green on your 13th hole is called a double plateau, and oftentimes double plateau greens on courses built by C.B. McDonald, Seth Rayner, Charles Banks were also accompanied by that principal's nose hazard, which originated on the 16th hole, the great 16th hole of the old course in St. Andrews. It's a feature that McDonald and Rayner replicated on many of their golf courses, and almost always in conjunction with the double plateau green idea. So we are going to be introducing principal's nose hazard in the approach on your long 13th hole. Fairly minor changes to the 14th. Greenside bunker on the left has been rebuilt. We've added a bit of fill to the right side of the green to try and dry out that little pocket that guards the back right hole locations. On the left side of the hole, we're going to be introducing some mounding that will come into play for players trying to hit a long drive on this hole. On the left side of the hole, they'll have to contend with some new mounding that will keep them honest if they're trying to hit the 300-yard drive. Our work started 2 months ago on the 15th hole. At this point is largely complete. Everything has been sodded, the bunker has been drained, and is simply awaiting the installation of new bunker sand, as the case with a lot of bunkers around the golf course. The changes to the 15th were relatively minor. The area behind the green was lifted a fair bit to help improve drainage around the green. The large bunker that protects the left and front of the green was expanded slightly. That bunker face was steepened a bit, but all in all, the 15th saw relatively minor changes. That's most certainly not the case on the 16th hole, which is perhaps the most changed hole in the golf course because it's the one green that we chose to rebuild. That green is now sodded and growing in beautifully. It's a mirror image of the previous putting surface, albeit 3.5 or 4 feet higher than the previous version. which makes for a much more intimidating second shot into that green. The bunkers are now much deeper relative to the putting surface. We've eliminated the row of bunkers down the right side of the hole and have just left the single solitary bunker furthest down the right side as it was originally placed. I'm going to be building some mounding on the left side of the hole in the approach to keep long hitters honest, but all in all, a short par 4 has gotten much more interesting thanks to the significant raising of that green complex and subsequent deepening of its surrounding bunkers. Some of the work on the 17th hole is complete. The fairway bunker on the left side has been rebuilt, as has the bunker on the left side of the approach. The green side bunkers have also been rebuilt. The left green side bunker has been rejoined from 2 bunkers back into 1, as was originally designed. The bunker on the right side of the green, the massive Big Bertha bunker, has also been reshaped, and the lead into that bunker has been lowered considerably and will be mown as short grass, which will make that bunker both more visible and more likely to collect balls that come up short of the green on this long par 5. In the coming weeks, we'll be getting into the reconstruction of the massive Sahara bunker that needs to be carried off the tee, as well as the introduction of a new bunker on the left side of the fairway, which will come into play on the 17th tee shot, but also keep long hitters honest on the 5th tee and help prevent them from cutting the corner by playing up the 17th fairway into the 5th green. Expect all that work to be complete in the next few weeks. The 18th hole is another one where the greenside bunkers have been rebuilt. That work is finished, and in the coming weeks we will also be getting into the reconstruction of the fairway bunkers on that hole, as well as the reconstruction of the tees, which in conjunction with the tees on the 6th hole will all be rebuilt. We'll be adding a bit of length to the 18th hole through a shared back tee that will also serve as the back tee on the 6th hole. So that's where we're at. It's been a real pleasure going through this process. Again, we've had wonderful cooperation from LeBar Golf Construction, our contractor, as well as Jeff Scott and his terrific team. The club has been a wonderful client and host to everyone involved in this work. We remain extremely grateful for the opportunity to help you improve your golf course, and look forward to playing it with you when it's ready to go again next spring. All for now. I'll check in again probably a month or so down the road, and we'll give you another update. But thanks again for the opportunity, and I hope you all are enjoying the work.